Yeah.
Well, that yawn you just heard is Joe Rayo waking up on a night where we have severe weather risk and we've got the outlook for the week ahead. Maybe the wind will finally go away, among other things. So we'll talk about that and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast on this Sunday night, the 14th of April, day before tax day. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is brought to you by Tempest, by WeatherFlow, our affiliate. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. It's easy to install. I got one. And, well, if you decide to purchase this or anything else from the Tempest website, the link is on the description of this podcast. Use the coupon code Winter2324. Because if you do, you will get.
You'll get 10% off, and it's still winter in Joe and Joe land, I guess.
Well, it always is. I'll stick with that code until they tell me to change it.
Okay.
Every month or so, they tell me to change the code. I'll get an email saying to change the code. So,
Yes.
anyhow, did you have a nice weekend, Mr. Rayo?
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, we went last night to the German American
German
Club.
American Club, yes.
Had something to honor the armed forces, and it was a nice dinner. And today was kind of a quiet day. Got a chance to spend a little time with the grandson. Still,
Oh,
still trying to get used to saying that, but it was nice. And Monday will be a lovely day for all of you who have to head back to work and school tomorrow. You could have used that kind of a day this weekend, but we didn't. I mean, today, Joe, the sun was out, then it was cloudy, then we had showers. Then the sun came back out again, then the clouds came back in. Then we had more showers. And we will check on the radar in a moment, showers continue to threaten, along with the strong gusty wind that we had yesterday and on Friday, and it sticks and twigs all over my lawn, and it doesn't want to end.
well, yeah, I on the other hand, had a beautiful blue sky and sunshine North Georgia day. It got to 80 degrees. The humidity was very low. And I went on a 6 mile walk. And then I went to the gym to do some weight work. And then I came home and I put a 10-pound turkey in the oven, along with some potatoes. I made some popovers, uh, from an easy recipe, by the way. I love popovers. And that was really the crux of my day. I was watching some Perry Mason episodes. This show is interrupting the case of the terrified typist. Yes, and she
Terrifying.
was. Vincent Croce, you're getting a granddaughter in June. That's great. Congratulations to you. Um,
I saw a Perry Mason just yesterday. Don't know what the channel was. It was just flicking around, and you know who was on it? Ed Platt, the chief from Get Smart. Believe it or
oh, yes. I think he did a couple of episodes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, with this channel I have, the Great American Channel, they run 7 hours of Perry Mason every day.
So there
You
you
think
go.
you think I would watch something original, but I just don't have any interest. All right, welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Everybody on the chat board, hope you had a great weekend. Big hugs from us, and to those of you who are lurking in the background, we extend our hugs to you. Thanks for being here tonight. The Joe and Joe Weather Show is on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, and the occasional Friday and Saturday if there's a storm around. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss it. Turn your notifications on it. And if you like the show, by all means, please hit the like button. Um,
And I don't
so
know how
that,
many people out there remember from just 1 year ago. I don't remember this, but thankfully we do have records where we could look back. And 1 year ago today, for the second day in a row, we set a record high. The high temperature at Central Park, get this, Joe, 91 degrees. 1 year ago today, 30 degrees above average, 1 degree hotter than it was yesterday when it was 90. And this was only the third time in April to have 2 or more consecutive days with highs in the 90s. The average date for a second high in the 90s, you have to wait until June the 9th. We haven't even gotten our first 90 yet. We haven't even been close to 90. But last year, second day in a row, we had 90 degrees, believe it or not.
And if I remember correctly, we had to wait a while after that before we got the next round of 90s. They did
Yeah, I
finally
think,
come, but it took a while.
yeah. In fact, when we were talking about, extreme temperatures or heat last summer, we forgot sometimes that we actually did put back-to-back days in the 90s in April, but we did, and that was a year ago that we had the second of two 90-degree days, and today we were about as far away from 90 as you could. I mean, right now it's only 60 or 61 degrees, and we have clouds. And guess what, Joe? Last I looked, it was raining, so
All right. Well, the
it's
raining part should not surprise everybody. We do have some weather going on this evening. SPC had put the uh, area in a marginal risk. Well, depending on where you are, but we'll show you in a second, but not too far from the coast. We've got slight and also enhanced risk. And at the moment, we have a working severe thunderstorm watch that is up in much of Pennsylvania and back into eastern Ohio. But the eastern Ohio watch is, I think, pretty much done with, judging by the radar. So now we'll wait to see how this translates as we go further to the east. And Mr. Rayo is going to take us around a few local radars to see what is going on. That means it's your turn.
it's my cue, right?
Correct.
So here it goes. We'll go first to our dear friends over at Upton, and let me just enlarge the view here a little bit so that all of you can get a nice wide shot of this. And you can see that we do have showers, as I mentioned, showers moving through. The main line is moving past through the lower Hudson Valley, and the main fireworks, the main area of heavy duty weather, apparently is going to be off to the west and north of the New York City metropolitan area. Even though New York City did get to the lower 70s today, which is quite warm, apparently the onshore flow, is going to knock the stuffing, so to speak, out of the potency of these thunderstorms. And so even though they may come with slight or even enhanced risk of severe, just a stone's throw to the north and west by the time they make it down into the vicinity of New York, and they may indeed threaten maybe about a 1 in 3 chance, perhaps, around 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. It doesn't look like they will have a lot of the potency that they had, further back to the west when they were in a warmer airflow and when they were not being subjected to onshore cooling sea breezes. Let me, now that we've seen New York, let's go further back to the west. Let's go to Binghamton for a change. And Binghamton, you see that there's a rather healthy line of showers and nasty looking storms at the beginning of the loop. It's right at the New York-Pennsylvania border, but then it drops southward. And notice, if you will, that the storms actually seem to get rather strong as they move south. And in fact, it appears that in the final few frames of the loop, there was some activity down around the Williamsport, Pennsylvania area, and also near Avoca in northeastern Pennsylvania in the Pocono region. And these storms, again, dropping rapidly to the south. Again, the main action is going to stay pretty much, or the most potent action will stay mostly to the west of the New York City metropolitan area. And again, the main action here is mostly over north central and northeastern Pennsylvania. As you can see, all those reds there indicating the rather nasty conditions, nasty weather. We'll go to Philadelphia, and you could see that the anticipated shower activity is moving southward. But again, as you see them moving south, they begin to lose a little bit of their activity, a little bit of their, a little bit less robust, if you will. We may see some of these storms threaten southeastern Pennsylvania later this evening after about 9 or 10 o'clock. But by then, they may have lost quite a bit of their strength, as you see them here with that, uh, very dark shades of red, indicating potentially nasty conditions. But it's what is it? It's more showers. We saw showers yesterday. We saw them on and off in parts of the tri-state area today. And before we get into any nice weather, it looks like we're going to have to go through one more round of showery conditions here before midnight tonight in many locations. I want to go over into the Midwest. Let's go to well, we don't have anything in Des Moines. That's a little bit too far to the west. So let's go here to Grand Rapids. Still nothing. I don't know why I'm going too far. Into the Ohio Valley, perhaps?
You got to go to Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, one of my favorite towns that I've never been to. Pittsburgh. All right, yeah, there you go. And wow, that's quite a line of thunder and lightning. But again, here's Pittsburgh right here in the middle of your screen, and it looks like a lot of this activity, Joe, is going to avoid Pittsburgh and pass just off to the north and east of the Steel City. Although there are a few here in the final frames of the loop that may, if they continue southward, may brush the Pittsburgh area. But again, looks like a lot of the action is going to stay mostly to the west, to the east and north of Pittsburgh. Let's try for one more here. This is State College, Pennsylvania. And that nasty line, again, moving through State College and continuing southbound, probably will be reaching the southern end of Pennsylvania sometime in the next 1 to 2 hours. So some of these storms were nasty. Again, Joe mentioned that the Storm Prediction Center actually put up an enhanced threat of severe weather. And some of these storms, I know that there's a severe thunderstorm watch mostly across western and central Pennsylvania, and with good reason. Again, you can see this line of severe weather that's now moving through that region. And again, maybe another couple of more hours, the watch will expire, and all of these storms will pretty much peter out as the sun goes down and the air begins to cool a bit.
I'm going to switch over and put up the from Tornado HQ, Joe. There are 8 working severe thunderstorm warnings that are up across the state of Pennsylvania, and 4 of them are concentrated north of Pittsburgh in western Pennsylvania. Looks like the back edge of that area is just to the east of Youngstown, and then it goes almost east or east southeast from there, and then kind of uh, hangs down into southern parts of Pennsylvania, but not too far south, more toward the middle and the south, north of Harrisburg, well north of Chambersburg. And there's 3 severe thunderstorm warnings north and west of Allentown. The easternmost one's probably getting fairly close to Scranton, but not quite there yet. Uh, Looks like it's mostly along Route 78 in Pennsylvania, or actually just north of Route 78, more like Route 80. I should say Route 80 in Pennsylvania. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, all severe thunderstorm warnings. You can see a whole bunch of them. Tornado HQ, for those of you who follow severe weather, is a pretty good site to keep handy because it's sort of a one-stop shopping when it comes to severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings. And if we take a look at the satellite loop, and this is with the lightning strikes showing up, and you can see uh, the strikes are rather numerous across PA in that east-west line. Yeah, the eastern part of that line, the way SPC has the watch box drawn up, they've got it pretty well lined up as to who these storms are going to nail the most. And it sort of implies that any storms that are going to be east of where the watch box is, Joe, northern New Jersey, into the Hudson Valley, New York City and Long Island, if they get there, will probably be something on the order of less than severe. Let's put it that way. But I guess if you're in Southeast PA, I'd kind of keep an eye on this line as it moves southeastward. in case it decides to hold together and hold up a little while longer than you might otherwise think.
Yeah, and yeah, Rich Rothmansky pointed out that some of the warnings in eastern Pennsylvania have now pretty well expired. So um, these storms, which may have been rather nasty, are beginning to weaken now as we approach, or now we are past sunset. So at least for the eastern end of the Keystone State, it does not look like anything much to write home about. And the same holds true probably for the New York metro area. Not to say that we may not see any more showers. We probably will between now and midnight, passing through the residual effects of what were some rather potent storms when they were back further north and west a little while ago. But now again, they're kind of diminishing or weakening as we move into the early part of the night tonight.
Well, we're coming up on 7:52 Eastern Time in the PM. So if you are watching this later on tonight on a replay, remember that the radars and satellites that you're seeing are dated. So if you are in an area that's at risk for severe weather, always go to always go to weather.gov or spc.noaa.gov to get the latest information regarding severe weather in your neck of the woods. And this is the earlier forecast from SPC, where they had the enhanced risk from eastern Ohio across Pennsylvania. So where you looked at the radar tonight, it's all pretty much going on in that enhanced risk zone with a 2 to 5% tornado risk. Again, the western part of this in the Ohio side is probably starting to wane a bit, and it's still, still some risk there until we see everything go away on the radars later on tonight. Now, this is going to be a busy first half of the week as far as severe weather is concerned across the U.S. There are two areas for tomorrow. One is actually this starts from goes from Monday morning to Tuesday morning. So we have a marginal to slight risk in Virginia, particularly southeastern Virginia, where there's a slight risk. The marginal into northeastern North Carolina. We also have a larger area of slight to enhanced risk in the plains from Texas, all north central Texas, all the way up through Oklahoma and Kansas, Nebraska into southern South Dakota, those two areas of enhanced risk. And right now we have this sort of broad 5% tornado risk indicated from Nebraska south into a small little portion there of north central Texas. And that is for Monday into Tuesday. Tuesday into Wednesday, we've got severe weather risk up and down the Mississippi and the Missouri River Valley from Iowa to Illinois to western Indiana, southwestward through western Tennessee and Kentucky, all of Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, northeast Texas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Kansas. And the enhanced risk you see there up in northern Missouri and southeastern parts of Iowa. So I think by the time we get there, we'll probably see some elevated tornado risk as well. And I think on day 4, they've got a small area of 15% for southern Indiana and much of western and central Kentucky into a small portion of northern Tennessee. So again, a busy severe weather week, or at least the first half of the week, looks to be on the busy side, and we'll of course be covering that tomorrow right here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And if we take a look at what's going on across the U.S., I'll bring up the full U.S. satellite loop. And you'll notice that New England did not have a good day today, Joe. I mean, there were clouds there all day long, and there were showery rains this morning. There were some more showery rains that moved through this afternoon. Much of the country enjoying actually some fairly decent weather, though, today. Lots of sunshine across the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley, through much of the southeastern Gulf states and back over into the plains and even on the east side of the Rockies. There's rotation into California, where the next storm system is coming in. And I think it looks to me like we're setting up this week for probably two weather fronts that are going to be coming through. One's going to probably bring, I'm thinking, some showers late late Wednesday into Thursday, and then the next one will probably come next Saturday, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, the one coming on Thursday looks a bit more potent than the Saturday system, and then you want to look beyond Saturday, Joe. There's some of the longer range maps are suggesting a huge and extensive dome of high pressure that, of course, will probably hold off until just about when next weekend is over, and probably bring a delightful series of days for not next weekend, but the days following next weekend. And actually, it looks like it's going to be below normal temperature wise, a bit cooler than one would expect for the middle to latter part of April coming up. So, and I saw somebody making a comment about that they may get snow. I don't. I forgot who that was. Oh wait a minute. Let me just. I have it here. Northern Grace later this week. Possibly snow here. Never know up here. Changes fast. LOL. So uh,
Yes.
there are changes that do take place. And April is a pretty can be a pretty active month, and this one certainly, no question, will be active for much of this week and on beyond.
Correct. And there's the wider radar view. As I said, New England not really having a good day today with showery rains. Still seeing some leftover severe thunderstorm watch warnings up. We're down to five of them, and one flash flood warning that has now been put up north of Pittsburgh. After the rains that they've got in western Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio, down into West Virginia late last week, this line of storms was not the most welcome thing in the world. I don't know where these showers that they're showing on the radar that are aloft by me. Because, well, I do have clouds, so I guess it's possible there must be some sort of little ripple that's moving along here in and around the Atlanta area. You can see there's some showers that are up to the north of Atlanta, and not quite to me, but not that far away. And also down into parts of Alabama. I'm just going to go back to the satellite. I guess it's from this little whatever that is that's moving across Alabama and Georgia. You can see this little patchy area of clouds, and I think that's where the problem stems. Is some moisture flow from the Pacific coming into Texas now is probably going to start setting up the next round of severe weather that we were talking about earlier. And out in the west, we've got showery rains and some mountain snows and valley rains, but nothing that's really causing a huge problem out here from the standpoint of anything crazy. But you can see there's some patchy rain that's rotating in a counterclockwise fashion. So there's another one of these upper lows that's sitting there. WPC this week, if we look at 7 day rainfall, most of this is rain. There's not a whole lot of snow really to talk about. But here we go. Uh, for the 7 day period that takes us into next Sunday evening, we're looking at a quarter to a half an inch in the mid Atlantic and Northeast, some areas of 3/4 inch amounts across Pennsylvania. And some of that's from tonight. So there's a little bit of front end loading here. We have heavier precip, and of course, we're talking severe weather risks up and down the Mississippi Valley. We're seeing that being reflected by the rainfall amounts of 1.5 inches or more from southeast South Dakota and northeast Nebraska across Iowa and into Wisconsin. Also, about 3/4 of an inch to some areas of 1.5 inches across Texas and into Oklahoma and Arkansas. We see some activity up in the Rockies, in the central Rockies, Colorado northward into Wyoming, with some areas of 2 inch liquid amounts and some small areas, probably some of the mountaintops. And just looking at the snowfall, what's the probability? Let's do the 72-hour I took the map off my sequence today, so I'm noticing that there is some snow to talk about here. So this is the probability for at least four in the next 72 hours, and that is in areas in west of Denver in the mountains. Some high probabilities there. Also through central Utah, northwest Wyoming, and even in north central Wyoming, some high probability areas of at least four. Going up through western Montana and then on up into Canada, a little bit up in the Cascades, nothing in the Sierra Nevadas, and of course, uh, other than those two little brown spots, one north of Quebec and the other one on the coast of northern New Brunswick there, near the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where we're talking about a 1 to 5% chance for at least four. Maybe if I go to two, it's a little bit more. Oh, big deal. There's a 20% chance for at least two in those two small little spots that we're seeing. So,
Well, don't forget, I mean, for the past, out of the last 3 weeks, 2 out of the last 3 weeks up across the northeastern United States, especially up in parts of New England, upstate New York, they got smashed with heavy duty snows. So, they kind of made up for got a good part of their winter just in the last month up there. And what did we say? We've been saying like last week that it figures that we got into the pattern that all the snow lovers were yearning for in January and February, but it waited until the end of March or April to finally set up. And of course, a bit too late for many areas because it's just a tad too warm unless you're at a high elevation to see very much in terms of the white stuff. And I don't understand what William Huber is writing to me on the chat board, Joe. He says, Joe Rayo, no 3 inches of rain this week. What's wrong? I don't.
I think he's being a little sarcastic because he's been getting flooded with 3 inch plus rainfalls for the last, what, 4 or 5 weeks in a row.
Oh,
So,
well.
so that there's no, the fact that there's no major storm this week, I think is a novelty, um, considering how it's been lately.
Well, that may well be. But if all you need is one localized cell of convection that could drop that 3 inches in one sitting or whatever. So I wouldn't, I, you know, don't say anything, William Huber. I mean, you think you're out of it, and then all of a sudden you're back in it again. So
I think Phil
anyway,
said he had 30 and he's had almost 30 inches of rain since January 1st,
that's ridiculous. That
where he is in central Long
here I
Island.
am complaining, and here I am complaining about the fact that here in Putnam Valley we've had over 20 inches so far, which is overly excessive for us. But 30 inches, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Looking at the long range upper air, I mean, we have this trough that's out in the east now that's pulling up, and a little arm that's coming around an upper low in eastern Canada, which is why we're seeing this front with severe weather going. That's going to go away. Otherwise, most of the upper low that's moving from California and moving into the southwest is going to take a track up toward Minnesota and the western lakes. So that sort of prevents any kind of major storm issue here. There's a big upper low that forms up in the Arctic that drops down toward Hudson Bay. It doesn't seem to have as much amplitude as what some of the earlier model runs were showing with this, but this could be just today's runs, and maybe it goes back to it. Because I'm looking at this from the 12Z run, and I mean, it doesn't look especially cool, or certainly doesn't look like what we saw yesterday. And then before too long, we start to get some ridging in the eastern part of the United States toward the latter part of the month. Now, there's a lot going on. Just to bear that in mind, there's a lot going on in this upper air. You've got, uh, some higher pressures starting to push up from Iceland over into Greenland. You've got troughs down some troughing in the western part of the United States, but part of it's down in the southwest, and then part of it is up in the northwest. Upper lows that are sitting south of Greenland and northeast of Newfoundland. So there's a lot of puzzle pieces here that might affect what it looks like going forward. So, maybe there'll be a little bit of forecasting volatility that we'll have to deal with. But here's our situation for this week. And you see this low that forms as a 985 low tomorrow night in southeastern Wyoming. I'm sorry, northwestern Nebraska, which is close to southeastern Wyoming. And this is going to be the trigger mechanism for the severe weather for tomorrow in the plains. And that low kind of gets itself wrapped up there in Kansas. It's not quite as deep as what was being indicated last week, but it's still there. And it goes up into this was forecast to go up in north of Minnesota and go right into central Canada. Now the models want to take it more east northeast into the southern lakes. So it does look like at least tomorrow and Tuesday should be decent weather days.
Right.
And with enough sunshine, it probably won't stop thermometers from going up toward the 70-degree mark, and it'll end some in many places, maybe even low 70s for Monday and Tuesday. And then it looks like there's some sort of onshore flow with the low where it's going and a warm front that sets up to our south on Wednesday. So we get into some showers Wednesday night. Cold front comes through on Thursday with some showers, and then that goes out. And then there's another low some more western energy. This in Colorado later in the week. And by the way, even from the first low, showing a little bit of snow up there on the models on Tuesday in northern Colorado. There's another low that comes out with some snow in Wyoming and Nebraska, and eventually into northern Colorado. That low comes out on Saturday as a cold front moves east, and it's some kind of low that's off the mid-Atlantic coast there. I don't know how real that is, but it does show us getting into some sort of weather front trying to come through and maybe a wave on that front for Saturday and Sunday. So there's a lot of speculation here as to where this is going to go. But then after that goes by, we've got a nice big high that builds in, starts out chilly, then it looks like it'll probably warm up, and you know nothing crazy. All everything's going by. The low centers want to go by to our north. So as long as we don't have something, like we saw back at the end of March and the beginning of April with lows that were forming off the southeast coast and shooting up right along right along the immediate coast, just straddling the coastline all the way up, bringing big rains to everybody. As long as we don't see anything like that, I mean, I don't see that here being indicated by the guidance, Joe. I think we're just going to be dealing with these weather fronts going forward. So up and down temperatures when fronts go by, some showers, maybe some thunderstorms when those fronts go by, but nothing crazy as far as 3, 4, 5 inch rain events over 24-hour periods.
No, we don't need those.
No, we certainly don't.
We've had enough. I'm sure we've had more than our fair share. So we'll see how things transpire in the coming. I'd like to hope for, and I think the Climate Prediction Center has been suggesting that once we get past this weekend, next weekend, I should say, that we'll actually go into a protracted spell of relatively, dry and quiet weather. And I'm not talking more than I'm not talking about a day or two like we're going to see here tomorrow and Tuesday. I'm talking about a nice long stretch of dry weather, which we really could use after what we have been through in recent days and recent weeks.
Just want to take a look at, let's see, what's going on in the Pacific because the La Nina is supposed to be getting underway. And actually, I'm just looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies. I'll just bring that map up. Deshaun Stallings, you know, it, you're asking questions about what kind of summer we're going to have in the Northeast. Is it going to be cool? Is it going to be hot? I mean, honestly, I honestly don't know how things play from that respect. It's a La Nina. If the La Nina is real, then you have to think that it's going to be a very active hurricane season in terms of number of storms, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those storms are landfalling storms. So I think it's probably a pretty good bet that we're going to have a an active hurricane season. But starting to see, Joe, I mean, you go back just back to January into February, where we had, basically the whole Pacific was on fire. But now in the in the equatorial region, we're starting to see an area of below normal water temperatures coming off the coast of South America and extending. Not very, it's a very small area, but it's made an appearance. So it seems as if this La Nina is starting to get underway. Also, the Pacific, not the the whole Pacific is not on fire like it was. The anomalies are on the lowish side. So I would suspect that with the La Nina forecast to grow, that we're going to see a lot of this yellow disappear and turn into blue in the next couple of months. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, particularly in the tropical Atlantic, God, I mean, you're looking at, these are anomalies here, but you're looking at much of the tropical Atlantic south of 30 degrees north and east of 60, running ocean water temperatures of 3 to 4 degrees Celsius above average. So, that's kind of interesting because, it sort of implies that the actual water temperatures right now here are, probably not too far from where let me see if I can find the accident of anomalies. Let's see if we can get actual map uh, of sea surface temperatures. Just give me a moment here. Oh, this is not going to work. Let's
And
go back.
when you finally get your stuff up, I've already put on the share screen here the Climate Prediction Center's outlook for the
All right,
summer.
let me switch. Hold on. You can show everybody that, and I'll find what I was what I'm trying to find. All right, your turn. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Climate Prediction Center now that the meteorological summer is defined as the three warmest months of the year. That would be June, July, and August. This forecast, this outlook was issued by the Climate Prediction Center on the 21st of March, so a few weeks back. And you can see that what they are suggesting as of this moment for our neck of the woods, this is the tri state New York area and the Northeast, including New England. The suggestion is that temperatures will be above normal. In fact, 1, 2, 3. So 50 to 60% probability of above normal temperatures. In fact, they're saying likely, not leaning toward, but likely above normal. So we're looking for a warm a summer, maybe even you might even hint that it might be hot with this type of scenario coming up. And as far as precipitation is concerned, well, they are calling, the Climate Prediction Center is, for, we're right on the verge in New York City and Long Island for above normal conditions, above normal precip, actually 40 to 50% above normal. If you go further north up into New England and, of course, most of upstate New York, it's more along the lines of a 33 to 40% probability for above normal conditions. In other words, we're leaning toward a wetter than normal summer. At least that's what the Climate Prediction Center is indicating. So a warm summer and possibly a bit of a wet summer as well, with showery and possibly even perhaps rainy conditions. What else is new? If you want to go to some place that apparently will be dry, it will be out in the plain states, especially right along the Rockies and to the east of the Rockies, east of the Continental Divide, Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico, northern sections and western sections of Texas. They will be below normal, at least according to this forecast. Let me just see also, what are they saying in terms of temperature? Well, this is interesting. While they're below normal in terms of precipitation, well, yeah, they're also above normal. In fact, they're not leaning, but likely above normal. So it looks like a very warm or maybe even a hot summer out west and dry too. And meanwhile, will be warm to hot here in the Northeast, according to the Climate Prediction Center, but also a bit on the wet side as well.
I'm trying to find, they got maps of the equatorial Pacific. I'm trying to find the equatorial Atlantic, and I can't seem to find it. Let me see if all right, this one I can actually read. No, it's kind of interesting. Just looking here, this doesn't go out to the African coast. It's a little bit closer in, but here we are in mid-April. And you've got ocean water temperatures in the tropical Atlantic that are already up at 28 C. I mean, so that would be supportive of 28 C ocean water temperature could support a Cat 3, and that extends all the way across the Caribbean. The 26 degree Celsius is also pretty far north already. The Gulf of Mexico is still a little bit on the cool side, particularly in the northern half of the Gulf, but still, just the fact that the most of the tropical Atlantic is still is showing well above normal temperatures, and now, and they're at levels that you would normally see in June or July is pretty interesting. And now we're going to throw this La Nina into the mix, so that it's going to be a very interesting couple of months. It's going to get very interesting in a couple of months when hurricane season gets underway, I think.
Yeah, and do you think that maybe when we get into the month of May, it hasn't been actually a case over the last, I think, couple of years, but there was one time back about, anywhere from 3 to 8 years ago, we were getting our first tropical cyclones forming in May. And I actually
Yeah,
made the comment that, you know, the Hurricane Center might be considering pushing the start of the hurricane season from June 1st to May 15th, but we haven't done that over the last 2 or 3 years. So just wondering whether or not with
Yeah,
all of the
you get these spurts. Like if you go back and look, there's been a couple of spurts during Mays, but where you get that, and then it goes for years where you don't get anything, and then you get another one of these spurts. So I guess maybe that whatever it was, 6 out of 7 Mays I think we had, where there was at least one tropical storm, one named storm in the month. Uh, Maybe that streak is broken now. We'll see.
we shall see what we shall see.
All right. I don't have a Briller Jeopardy, so I think
I do,
you do.
I do have.
Oh, you do. All right.
So wait a minute, hang on for a second. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. I just need to get to my ba-bum. Gotta get to my Facebook page here and check out what Mr. Briller sent me. I know he sent it to me. Where are you, Scott? Oh, here we go. And here we are. Joe, this is this Briller Jeopardy exclusive for the chat board. The longest running Broadway shows of all time. And here's a hint. The list includes Mr. Jaffe's favorite Broadway show. I don't even know what your favorite show is, but
I think he's being sarcastic with that.
in
Yes,
other words,
Christinapedia, Cats, the longest 8 hours of my life, and that was just the first act. And those are 3 hours of my life that I will never get back. That's what I think of Cats. Okay, so I assume Cats is on there.
let's see. Yes, Cats is there. That's number 5 on the
And
list.
Rich Rothmansky says The Lion King.
The Lion King is there too.
And Craig Carlberg says, let's see if we get 3 in a row here. Craig Carlberg and Vincent Croce say Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera. That's the first on his list. I don't know if these are in order of the longest running, or whether or not he just threw them up. Whatever. But yeah, Phantom of the Opera is there.
So we've got how many of them so far?
You've got three.
Cats, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10. Okay, so Christinapedia is throwing up Wicked.
Well, Wicked, they've been promoting. In fact, Wicked's been around for 20 years now, and Wicked indeed is there. Wicked 2003. So Wicked is there.
And she's also throwing up Rent.
Rent? Rent is surprisingly not there.
Okay.
Freak is broken.
Vincent Croce's going way back to Jesus Christ Superstar.
That was big in its day, but it's not on the list.
And Mark Franz Sr. is mentioning Evita.
Evita?
Mm-hmm.
No. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Frank Scalera and Mark G are mentioning Chicago.
Chicago, 1996. It is there. So now we've got half of them.
And Patrick Darcy also mentions Chicago. He mentions also Les Miserables.
Les Miserables is there. Yes, 1982.
Which I've seen and was very good, by the way. Just in case anybody thinks that I abhor musicals, it's not that. I can handle musicals as long as they actually have a story behind them. Okay, like a real story. Unlike Cats hanging around garbage pails. Vincent Croce puts up My Fair Lady, which is going back a ways.
My Fair Lady, not on the list.
The Christinapedia says West Side Story.
West Side Story is surprisingly not on the chairman's list.
And Christinapedia also says Guys and Dolls. Christinapedia must go to a lot of Broadway shows.
Well, Guys and Dolls is not there either, although it was an episode on Seinfeld. If you're a Seinfeld, remember this Guys and Dolls episode. So,
Frank Scalera brings up Aladdin.
Aladdin, is Aladdin there?
I'm going to say no.
No.
And Patrick Darcy brings up Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast was on the list.
Michael Azara brings up Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I would have put Oklahoma on that list, but unfortunately the chairman didn't put it on the list, so it's not
and
there.
and and Carousel.
Carousel. Nope, nothing with carousel.
Mark Franz Sr. says The Wiz.
The Wiz. The Wiz is unfortunately not on the. Wicked is there, but The Wiz did not make it.
And Old Calcutta.
Oh, Calcutta.
Yeah,
Oh, Calcutta is on the list, 1976.
right. Northern Gray says Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia is there.
All right, how many left now?
Um, Give me my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You got 9 out of the 10.
So there's one more.
There's more.
Jason Schaefer says The Book of Mormon.
Nope.
All Star 10S says Greece.
Greece. Good guess. Not there.
Yes, Rent was said and was eliminated, Rich. All right, since we got 9 out of 10. And Christinapedia just threw up The Sound of Music.
No, Sound of Music is not there. I'll give you a hint. This particular show, 1975.
Jason Schaefer and Patrick Darcy say a chorus line.
Chorus line was the last one. That's right.
Very
19,
good.
the chorus line.
That's pretty good. You got them all.
Very
Um,
good.
all right. Is there anything else? I don't have anything else going on. I know I made a 10-pound turkey for one person, and it's a lot, but you know what? I don't mind doing that. Well, first of all, I had this turkey in my freezer for almost a year. So I
Uh,
decided, and I have two of them in the freezer, so I decided to cook this one. The other one I got 5 months ago, 6 months ago, back in before Thanksgiving. It was one of those, buy a certain, buy the $35 worth of groceries and you get a free turkey. So I bought a loaf of bread and a quart of milk. It came to $35 and I got the free turkey out of it. So I put it in the freezer and so I had two of them. So I figured, you know what, it was time to get rid of one. So I don't mind because I cooked it and now I got plenty of food for the week. I make sandwiches, I make salads with it. So, I'm good. It'll all get eaten. I do not waste food. I rarely throw food out. So that's just how I operate.
See, with Renata, what we have been doing of late is we have been, uh, you know, bringing going to dinner with our kids. They have yet to bring our grandchild here. So what we've been doing, Renata has been cooking here, and then we transport the food over to their house. And I think about a week ago we had a 14-pound turkey that we brought over. So
Nice.
it
Jason
was
Schaefer, I'm sorry. Turkey bacon is so wrong. It's just so wrong. All right. You want bacon? Have bacon. Have real bacon. Spend a little, get quality bacon. All right. I mean, a really good quality bacon. Instead of, because deep down inside you want bacon. So turkey bacon just doesn't work for me. Okay. Um, let's see. Uh, what else?
Tom
Uh,
Contino. It's not ridiculous. They want to take extra care of their child. When you have
it's
your own,
it's it's their first one. That's what they first ones do. Actually, I should send you Leanne Morgan, who's a comedian uh, here. She's gaining a lot of attention across the U.S. She's very funny, and she does. It's mostly family, and she talks about the fact that her oldest son got married and they had a baby, and the the son and the daughter-in-law, quote unquote, set boundaries, as far as it was their child versus our child. Okay, so she just sort of mentions about the fact that when the when her daughter-in-law is waking up in the middle of the night having hallucinations and breastfeeding the lamp instead of the baby, Um, those boundaries are going to disappear.
Oh
Oh
dear.
God! But that's very normal. I mean, I remember even with my own with our firstborn, it was like you don't nobody could come over. You know, when the time you get to when you get to your third one, it's like, you know what? They're gonna do what they gotta do, you know? She's crying, she wants, just give it to her, you know? That's just how it goes. That's
Christian
pretty
PD, I don't have any idea about any reports of meteors on Long Island yesterday. And they probably would not have been visible because, well, actually, it was a partly cloudy sky when I took my dog out last night. So I don't have any reports. I know there was a report of a fireball meteor a few days ago, but nothing last night. And Vincent Croce, thank you. He says, Joe, my son does the same thing. My granddaughter was here today, not inside, but I had to go outside. It's a different world. Yes, different world and different society than what we were brought up in.
Why did
Even
you have to go outside? I don't even get.
I don't know. They you had to go outside.
It's odd. My middle daughter with her three kids, she's got her three, and the youngest one's 14 months. She, it was I didn't have really didn't have that issue.
Yep.
Yeah, they oh this younger gener this current younger generation.
Yes.
Don't get me
All right.
started.
Well, tomorrow is going to be a lovely day in the tri-state area with sunny skies. And it will be a day, Joe, that I will probably spend at least part of my day picking up all the sticks that are out on my lawn so I can hopefully do the lawn either late tomorrow or more likely on Tuesday. Tuesday looks like a nice day, too, maybe a slightly cooler than tomorrow. And then we go back to the same old story, more dreck, more wet weather for later on in the week and maybe on into the upcoming weekend as well.
All right, the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is always brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow, our affiliate here. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. Use the coupon code Winter2324 because if you do, you will get.
10% off.
And we'll see everybody. This is a normal week, no schedule changes. So we'll see
No
everybody.
schedule changes. We're done. I'm taking a break from these library talks. I'm stuffed to the gills with library talks, and
I imagine you must be. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, it's time to take a break. We'll be back normal time tomorrow night, 7:35.
Good night.
Good night.